everybody, and welcome back to another lesson by Answers Bible Curriculum. My name is Stacy, and today's lesson is called Jesus Teaches in Parables. Jesus uses parables to share spiritual truth. Jesus taught the crowds with parables to separate those who wanted the truth from those who didn't. The parable of the Good Samaritan showed that we all have a responsibility to love our neighbor, especially those in need. Our key passages are Matthew chapter 13, verses 10 through 13, and Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through 37. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to explain why Jesus taught in parables and describe the meaning of the Good Samaritan parable. And for our memory verse, I hope you're practicing this every week, it's John chapter 8, verse 12. Again, Jesus spoke to them, saying, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Now, let's read that one more time to help us remember it. It's John chapter 8, verse 12. Again, Jesus spoke to them, saying, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." So in today's lesson, we'll be learning about the command to love our neighbors. Do you love your neighbor? When we talk about neighbors, we may mean people who live near our house or in our neighborhood, but in our lesson today, we'll learn who Jesus said is our neighbor. And his definition is much bigger than we might think. Before we read about that, let's review what Jesus had been doing around this time. We've covered much of the earthly ministry of Jesus. We saw how Jesus showed his power over creation when he calmed storms and walked on water. He also showed love and compassion for people by healing the sick, casting out demons, and raising the dead. He even fed over 5,000 people with one lunch and then showed his glory on a mountaintop to 3 of his disciples. Jesus spent a lot of time in the region of Galilee, and he also took several trips to Jerusalem. On one of his visits to Jerusalem, Jesus encountered a man who was born blind. How did Jesus heal him? He used his saliva and dirt to make mud, which he put on the blind man's eyes. Then he told him to go wash at a certain pool. When the man obeyed, he received his sight. The Pharisees weren't happy that Jesus healed this man on the Sabbath, and they questioned the man and his parents. The healed man believed that Jesus was from God, while the Pharisees accused Jesus of breaking their laws. They banished the healed man from the synagogue, but Jesus found him and revealed himself as the Son of Man, the Messiah. The man believed Jesus and worshipped him. After Jesus left Jerusalem, he traveled around the region of Judea for about 3 months. During this time, he continued to heal people and to teach. Jesus taught many things in parables, which are short stories that use everyday things to teach a spiritual truth. Jesus' parables often included nature, farming, food, animals, or other familiar things to teach a spiritual lesson. In today's lesson, Jesus uses a parable about travelers. Now, a parable, as we just discussed, is a short story that uses everyday things to teach a spiritual truth. One of the parables we already studied was about the sower and the seed. A sower or farmer scattered seed on a hard path, a rocky ground, thorny ground, and good soil. Only the seed that fell on the good soil grew and produced a fruitful crop, while the other seeds were eaten by birds, scorched by the sun, or choked by thorns. When he explained the meaning of the parable to his disciples, Jesus said the seed was the word of God. The ground stood for different types of hearts. The seed that lands on good soil, a good heart, will grow and bear fruit. That fruit stands for things done for God's glory. Now, did everyone who heard the parable get the deeper meaning behind the story of the sower? No. Before we read our parable for today, let's see why Jesus spoke in parables. Turn to Matthew chapter 13. This conversation took place after Jesus told the parable of the sower. We're going to read verses 10 through 13. Are you ready? Matthew chapter 13, starting in verse 10. Then the disciples came and said to him, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" And he answered them, "To you it has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For to the one who has, more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. This is why I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand." So who asked Jesus why he